Shadur is way better than Dillon Gabriel. He just is. If Shadur had started from the start, game 1 against Cincinnati at home, they would be the talk of the NFL right now because I look at the fourth quarter yesterday. They go 0 for 4 on third down because Dillon was playing not to lose. Don't throw it to them. Don't put it on the ground. And he did a great job of that. But on one of those third downs, you have to try to make a play to win the football game. And trust me, no matter what Stefanski called, Shadur would try to win the football game because it's how he was raised.
This episode breaks down how the power shift inside the Browns building really started, why Todd Monken's recent moves and silence speak louder than words, and how Shedeur Sanders suddenly looks like the clear QB1 while Dillon Gabriel feels like yesterday's plan, all tied to Kevin Stefanski's growing connection to Atlanta. From the outside, the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation looks messy, confusing, and loud. But inside the building, it's becoming painfully clear that a decision has already been made.
Stated Falcons executive Matt Ryan is a non-committable Michael Penix Jr. person, being the starting quarterback next season as he recovers from knee surgery, making Browns quarterback Dillon Gabriel a potential trade target for Kevin Stefanski. Now, this isn't just coming out to be coming out, bruh. Stefanski was strongly in favor of drafting Gabriel in the third round of the 2025 NFL draft and could reunite with him in Atlanta if the opportunity presents itself.
Todd Monken didn't need a press conference, a tweet, or a dramatic quote to send his message. He shut things down the old school way, with actions, with structure, and with who actually gets built around. Over the last stretch of off-season chatter, one name keeps rising without resistance, Shedeur Sanders, and another keeps getting quieter by the day. Dillon Gabriel. That's not accidental. That's football politics in real time. Let's be honest for a second. Dillon Gabriel didn't just lose momentum, he lost oxygen. Early on, there was noise about competition, systems, and keeping all options open, but that language disappeared fast once Monkin fully took control of the offense. Reps shifted. Install priorities changed. The offense stopped looking like something you tailor for Gabriel's strengths and started looking like something built for timing, command, and anticipation, the exact traits Shedeur Sanders thrives on. Coaches don't lie with play design, they don't lie with install pace, and they definitely don't lie with who they trust to run the room. What made the situation explode is the disrespect angle.
Family, we know that Coach Kevin Stefanski was going to get rewarded regardless. If Coach Kevin Stefanski's name was Coach Kevin Jackson, he would have been fired by game number 5, but for some miraculous reason, he survived 6 seasons in Cleveland with only 2 winning seasons and 4 of the most horrible seasons in NFL history. So he was rewarded after sabotaging Shadur, and that's not what I'm here for. There's another atmosphere in the room right now, and his name is Dillon.
Around the league, whispers started floating that Shadur was too flashy, too confident, or somehow not serious enough for an NFL locker room. That narrative didn't come from tape, it came from fear. And Todd Monken clearly wasn't buying it. Instead of entertaining the noise, he did the opposite. He doubled down on structure, accountability, and control, all things Shadur has shown since college. That's the part people keep missing. Confidence doesn't scare great coaches. Insecurity does. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel's fit with Cleveland started looking forced. Not bad, not embarrassing, just forced.
Way today, Kevin Stefanski's up to his old tricks. We're going to go over an interview he just did today with Dan Patrick concerning Shedeur Sanders, Dillon Gabriel, the development of the quarterbacks with the Cleveland Browns last year. A short, quick clip that we're going to cut up and discuss. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're going to keep you in the loop of when this stuff happens. Shedeur Sanders, conspiracy theories, news that's being tossed under the rug that we'll dig.
He's a rhythm quarterback who needs everything clean, friendly, and predictable. That's not the Browns. That's not the AFC North. And that's definitely not Todd Monken's offense. Monken wants a quarterback who can command protections, stand tall under pressure, and still deliver when the pocket collapses. That's where Shadur separates himself. And that's why the internal tone changed so fast. And here's where Kevin Stefanski quietly enters the chat. League insiders have been circling the same idea for weeks now. Stefanski still believes in Dillon Gabriel, just not in Cleveland. Atlanta makes sense. New environment, cleaner reset, a coach who already knows how to protect him schematically. That's not betrayal, that's reality. Stefanski knows what Gabriel needs to survive in this league, and it's not a quarterback room where he's clearly second in command. The Browns, on the other hand, don't need Gabriel anymore. Not because he's bad, but because the direction has shifted. Once Monkin saw Shedeur Sanders take ownership of installs, command veteran attention, and handle pressure without blinking, the debate ended.
That comes in from Andrew B. Do you think Falcons will be interested in Dillon Gabriel? We will give him to them for a 5th-round pick. We absolutely would. I certainly would. Now, the reason this has become coming up as a rumor is because of the Kevin Stefanski connection, right? We know that Stefanski liked Gabriel, wanted Gabriel, started Gabriel, was wrong about Gabriel, has an ego.
Quarterback battles don't end with announcements. They end with silence. And Gabriel's silence has been loud. This isn't chaos. It's clarity. Todd Monken didn't shut Dillon Gabriel down with words. He shut him down with trust, with reps, and with design. Shedeur Sanders didn't steal the job. He earned it by fitting exactly what this offense demands. And Kevin Stefanski? He's already looking south, knowing full well that Gabriel's best chance isn't fighting a battle that's already been decided. Cleveland has moved on, even if they haven't said it yet. And once that happens in the NFL, there's no rewinding the tape. This episode dives into the exact moment the narrative flipped, how outside disrespect toward Shedeur Sanders backfired, why Todd Monken took it personally, and how that disrespect quietly sealed Dillon Gabriel's fate in Cleveland while accelerating Shadeur's rise to QB1. The turning point in this whole situation didn't come from a depth chart or a leaked report. It came from disrespect. Real disrespect. The kind that doesn't show up on paper but spreads fast through league circles, social media, and locker rooms. When the chatter started painting Shedeur Sanders as a marketing quarterback, a name-brand prospect, or someone getting hype without substance, that's when everything shifted. Because that narrative didn't just miss the mark, it insulted the work. And Todd Monken does not play about that. Around NFL buildings, those comments didn't land as harmless opinions. They landed as a challenge.
Press conference, your introductory press conference. I know you didn't want to talk about the Cleveland Browns, so you want to swat this away, you can, but was it fair to Shadur and Dillon to be put in a situation like that as rookies?
Well, first of all, Dan, I would tell you I have zero ill will towards anyone in that building. Dee and Jimmy Haslam treated me unbelievably, treated my family unbelievably. So I have no ill will towards all those type of things.
Coaches like Monken live off evaluation, not vibes. When people started questioning Shadeur's legitimacy, his toughness, or his ability to lead grown men, it wasn't just Shadur being tested. It was Monken's football eye being questioned too. And that's when the gloves came off. Instead of pulling back, Monken leaned in harder. More responsibility, more control at the line, more expectation. That's not how you treat a quarterback you're unsure about. That's how you treat a quarterback you're preparing to hand the keys to. While Dillon Gabriel stayed in neutral, Shadur was getting trusted with the accelerator. And once that happens in an NFL offense, the rest is just paperwork. The crazy part? The disrespect didn't come from Shadeur's performance. It came from discomfort. People aren't used to quarterbacks who are composed, confident, and unafraid to be seen. Shadur doesn't duck cameras, and he doesn't duck accountability either. That combination scares old narratives. But inside the Browns facility, teammates weren't confused. They saw who stayed late. They saw who took control during installs. They saw who corrected mistakes without panic. That matters more than any outside noise. Dillon Gabriel, on the other hand, got caught in the crossfire. Not because he disrespected Shadur, but because his presence represented the old plan. And once a coaching staff feels like their guy is being challenged unfairly, they stop hedging. Monken wasn't about to let Shadur be undercut by league talk while keeping a just-in-case option warm behind him. That's how locker rooms fracture. That's how trust gets lost. And let's be real. Gabriel never really answered the disrespect moment. He stayed quiet, stayed steady, stayed safe. That's fine for some quarterbacks, but in this moment, the Browns needed presence, not politeness. They needed someone who could absorb noise and still command the room. That's where Shadur separated himself again. By mid-off-season conversations, the tone had completely changed. It wasn't who's starting anymore. It was how fast can we build around Shadur? That's a massive shift. And it happened because Monkin refused to let outside narratives dictate his locker room hierarchy. When disrespect creeps in and a coach shuts it down by empowering one player, that's not competition. That's confirmation. Kevin Stefanski saw it too. He didn't fight it. He didn't push back because he understands football ecosystems. Once a locker room aligns behind one quarterback, the other one needs a clean exit. That's not punishment. That's preservation. And Atlanta keeps popping up because that's where Gabriel can breathe again without being compared, measured, or overshadowed. So don't get it twisted. This wasn't about Shadur being handed anything. This was about disrespect, waking up the wrong coach, forcing a hard decision, and exposing which quarterback could handle heat and which one needed shelter. Now let's talk about why this whole situation actually makes sense when you zoom out and stop looking at it emotionally. Because a lot of fans hear Dillon Gabriel might be gone and instantly think something went wrong. No, something got clarified. The Browns didn't lose control of their quarterback room. They gained control for the first time in a long time. Todd Monken is not a coach who lives in gray areas. He doesn't do half commitments. He doesn't do quarterback babysitting. When he sees the guy who can run his offense at full speed, he shuts everything else down without making a scene. That's exactly what's happening here. And the moment Shedeur Sanders started commanding protections, adjusting routes pre-snap, and taking ownership when things went wrong, the tone changed inside that building. This is the part casual fans don't see. Coaches talk differently when they've found their quarterback. Meetings get sharper, expectations rise, mistakes stop being explained away and start being corrected aggressively. That only happens when a staff trusts the guy at the front of the room. And right now, that guy is Shedeur Sanders. Dillon Gabriel never did anything wrong. That's the uncomfortable truth. He just doesn't fit what Cleveland is becoming. The AFC North is violent, chaotic, unforgiving. You need a quarterback who doesn't blink when the pocket collapses and doesn't shrink when the game turns ugly. Monkin knows that. The Browns know that. And Shadur has shown that mentality over and over again. That's why the Browns aren't panicking about moving on from Gabriel. They're not scrambling. They're not leaking negative stories. They're not trying to spin anything. Because when a quarterback doesn't fit your long-term vision, the cleanest move is to let him land somewhere he actually can succeed. And that's where Atlanta keeps making sense. Not as a rumor, not as drama, as logic. Kevin Stefanski understands that system fit matters more than ego. He's not going to fight Monkin for control when he can instead place Dillon Gabriel in a situation where his strengths aren't constantly under pressure. That's coaching maturity. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders isn't waiting for permission anymore. He's operating like the job is his, not arrogantly, but confidently. There's a difference. Teammates feel that. Coaches respond to that. And once that alignment happens, the quarterback room stops being a competition and starts being a hierarchy. The Browns didn't disrespect Dillon Gabriel. They outgrew the idea that he was their future. And that's not cruel. That's football. The league moves fast, and when clarity shows up, smart organizations don't ignore it. All right, now let's talk about the locker room reaction. Because this is where things stop being theory and start being real football. Fans argue online, analysts debate on TV, but players? Players always know before the public does. And inside that Browns locker room, the shift toward Shedeur Sanders didn't need an announcement. It showed up in body language, in trust, and in who everyone naturally started following. You don't accidentally become the guy in an NFL locker room. Veterans don't hand over leadership because of hype, last names, or social media buzz. They hand it over when they believe you can get them paid, keep them protected, and give them a chance to win on Sundays. And everything coming out of Cleveland points to the same thing. Players are responding to Shedeur's presence in a way they weren't responding before. Watch how offensive linemen move around a quarterback. Watch how wide receivers talk to him between reps. Watch who guys stand next to when things get tense. That stuff matters more than any depth chart. And all of that energy has slowly but clearly gravitated toward Shedeur. He's vocal, he's demanding, and most importantly, he's consistent. That's what earns trust fast. This is where Dillon Gabriel's situation gets uncomfortable. Not because he failed, but because he never became the emotional center of the offense. He's calm, controlled, and professional, but sometimes that's not enough in a building that's trying to redefine itself. Cleveland doesn't want quiet leadership right now. They want edge. They want accountability. They want a quarterback who doesn't just run the play, but owns the mistake when it breaks down. That's exactly why Todd Monken's offense feels different with Shedeur running it. There's urgency. There's tempo. There's a sense that mistakes won't be brushed off. And when players feel that standard, they elevate, or they get exposed. That's how real cultures are built. The other thing nobody wants to admit, the Browns are tired of uncertainty at quarterback. They've lived in it. They've been burned by it. And now they finally see a path forward that feels stable, controllable, and scalable. Shedeur isn't just a talent. He's a tone setter. He brings structure without being robotic and confidence without being reckless. That balance is rare. And once the locker room senses that the organization is serious about one guy, everything else falls into line. Playbooks tighten. Side conversations disappear. The what-if chatter dies off. That's what's happening right now. The Browns aren't debating anymore. They're aligning. Dillon Gabriel deserves credit for how he's handled this. No drama, no leaks, no frustration spilling out publicly. That tells you this was communicated internally, not forced. And in the NFL, that's the difference between chaos and professionalism. His next chapter doesn't need to be ugly to make sense. What is clear is this: the Browns aren't hedging anymore. They're done splitting reps, done soft-selling competition, done pretending two timelines can coexist. Shedeur Sanders is being built up as the face of the offense, not in the media, but where it actually matters. Now here's the part that makes people uncomfortable, the part where denial stops and reality hits. Because at this stage, the Browns aren't deciding anything anymore. They've already decided. Everything you're seeing now is just the organization letting the outside world catch up to what's been obvious inside the building for weeks. Todd Monken didn't come to Cleveland to babysit quarterbacks or manage egos. He came to build an offense with teeth, an offense that can survive pressure, noise, and chaos. And when he evaluated his room, he didn't pick the safest option. He picked the one that gives him control. Shedeur Sanders gives him that. Command, toughness, accountability. The ability to absorb criticism and still show up demanding more from everyone around him. That's not hype, that's identity. Kevin Stefanski understands this better than anyone. That's why there's no public pushback, no subtle leaks, no counter-narrative. Coaches know when a vision has shifted, and smart ones don't stand in the doorway. They open another door. Dillon Gabriel's future isn't in Cleveland, and that's okay. Atlanta represents opportunity, not exile. A chance to reset without being measured against a decision that's already been made. What makes this situation powerful isn't drama, it's clarity. The Browns finally stopped living in maybe. They stopped hedging. They stopped protecting feelings over direction. That's how serious teams operate. And for the first time in a long time, Cleveland looks serious about the quarterback position. Shedeur Sanders didn't ask for this moment. He handled it. He didn't respond to disrespect with noise. He responded with control. And when the pressure came, he didn't flinch. He leaned in. That's why the building followed him. That's why Monkin shut the door quietly. That's why Gabriel's exit feels inevitable instead of emotional. This is how quarterback eras begin in the NFL. Not with headlines, not with announcements, but with alignment. Coach, locker room, and scheme all pulling in the same direction. The Browns finally have that, and they're not looking back. And once this season kicks off, none of this will be debated anymore. It'll be obvious, loud, and undeniable